And gold and silver have a role to play?
Well, they are the only sound money there is, because the point about fiat currencies is they can be produced by governments at will. And with the fractional reserve banking systems that are common everywhere where these fiat currencies are, the banks create the credit as well. So you have got a fundamental instability in the system, which at some stage will mean the purchasing power of these paper currencies will fall very dramatically. Mm-hmm. So my view on gold and silver is I'm not bullish on gold and silver, but I'm extremely bearish of paper currencies.
I understand your point completely.
Yeah.
Paper currencies are going to lose value,
exactly.
Whereas gold and silver will actually maintain the wealth that's
yes.
embodied in those currencies.
Absolutely. I mean, the problem that investors face is that these are manipulated markets. The short positions, particularly in gold, amongst the central banks who run what are called sight accounts, which aren't necessarily backed by the gold that they say they are holding on behalf of others, because it is on balance sheet, as it were. So you've got the sight accounts. In the bullion banks, you have got unallocated accounts, where basically they run those accounts on a fractional reserve basis. And then you've got the short position in the futures market, which has come about purely as a result of these banks trying to manipulate the price of gold and silver downwards. Mm. So you've got enormous short positions which have built up. And that is a huge, great technical position which does need to be resolved. And unfortunately, its resolution will probably be triggered by economic events as much as anything else. And when that happens, I just don't know where they're going to get the gold.
Yeah.
The LBMA, under their standard unallocated account agreements, actually permit the bullion banks to pay out their unallocated accounts in currency equivalent. So that won't need to be covered. But I'm convinced that there is a fairly large short position amongst the central banks. In other words, they declare they have got more than they actually have. Mm. And then we do know what the short position on COMEX is, because that is visible.
Right.
So you know, it's covering those two things, and particularly the COMEX one as the most visible aspect of this. I think actually it's going to be very difficult, and I don't know where. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I think it was something like 700 tons of gold was the short position, something like that. The silver position is over 200 million ounces, I think, between the various commercials. Where are they going to get it from? The only people who I think have got the gold are the Chinese, which actually puts a very interesting spin on the relationship between China and America.
Well, there's clearly a lot of wealth being accumulated there, and the Chinese periodically announce that they've been increasing their gold holdings, no doubt about that. I guess, you know, as this all comes to a conclusion, people are going to learn the difference between physical gold, physical silver on the one hand, and paper gold and paper silver. And clearly the advantage is to be on the physical side, not the paper side, because the paper is going to be defaulted.
No, you're absolutely right, James. And I think one way of looking at the relationship between the paper market and the physical market is that the pricing of the physical market has been dominated by the activities in the paper market. And the activities in the paper market have all been angled towards suppressing the price of gold, because nobody wants the embarrassment of these short positions getting any worse.
Yeah.
The effect of that has been to drive the physical out of circulation. We hear too often now for this to be more than just a rumour of people buying silver, buying gold, and finding that they can't take delivery because the delivery isn't there, or it is delayed, and it's delayed, and there are excuses. But I think you've got some experience of this.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. You know, when Warren Buffett accumulated his 130 million ounces of silver back in 1997, he didn't do that in one day or 1 week. It took almost 7 months for him to accumulate 130 million ounces. And back then, silver was out of favor.
Yes.
You know, nobody wanted it. And so to take that long is sort of, you know, something that we should focus on. And more recently, Sprott Physical, a new fund issued by Sprott Asset Management in Canada, 20 million ounces. And I think they just announced recently it took them almost 3 months to get 20 million ounces of physical silver out of the market. And that probably had something to do with the recent rise in the silver price as well. So it suggests to me that you know, silver is very undervalued, and it's going to be going much, much higher.
Yeah.
Well, Alistair, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Well, thank you, James.
And, you know, if you want to see more of Alistair's essays, financeandeconomics.org, I highly recommend it.
Thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Mine. Thanks.